Okay. Jai Jinendra, everybody. It would be great if we can have a few people keep their videos open. I get a better connect and the feel. So it's not very uncomfortable, and it is also much more impactful for you if you put your videos open. Okay, so मैं कौन हूँ, आया कहाँ से, और मेरा रूप क्या, संबंध दुखमय कौन है, स्वीकृत करूं परिहार क्या. For the past few weeks, we have been discussing primarily on what is in it for me. Now, consider this. We need to know the relevance of my this particular life in the scheme of things, in the journey from where I have existed and till when I'm going to exist, and how big is this certain life in that journey, how prominent or dominant is this life in that journey, and what percentage of my journey is this particular life. Now, one thing which we definitely do understand in the previous lectures is that I do exist. And my existence is beyond the existence of this particular body or this association with this certain body. So if I do exist, where have I been? What am I going to do in future? Where will I end up? So we need to understand that am I in a certain cycle, in a repeat mode, wandering, doing the same things over and over again? Or is this a one-way journey from past to future with a lot of new things unfolding for me every time? How does this really work? So last evening, I was actually, contemplating on this, and very, very interesting topic to understand that while we see cause and effect in a lot of things, and a few of us do understand that our good karma leads to good events happening in my life, and bad karma leads to bad events happening in my life. It seems like some SAP registered accounting system, the karma, which is ensuring that the balance sheet is always balanced. So what I was wondering was that, for example, a person were to meet an accident and die. So the soul leaves the body. So you would say that the karmas of the person were at play because the ayu, the lifespan of that particular person ended. Hence, he met with an accident. So now I'm asking you one thing. Did my karmas get the car with which my car collided on the road? My karma created the pothole on the road. My karma got the dog or the beggar coming on the way because of which we swayed. My karma got the driver of the other car, dozing off. So is my karma capable of doing so many things, or does the car have its own karma? I mean, the living beings may have their own set of karmas, but do the karmas talk to each other? Is there an API in my karma which integrates with all the other APIs of all the world and other JEEVs? And then they are working in tandem to ensure that this accident does happen, because even if the driver is going to get hurt, or the dog is going to die, or that ant also is going to die along with me, which is on the road, so many elements have to work in tandem, in a perfect synchronization, to ensure that nobody is, you can say, not getting something he doesn't deserve. So, which leaves me to the thought that when we are talking about this entire world, which is made of Pudgal, isn't it? Pudgal, which is the non-living matter. Because a car does not have life for sure. I know that. The road does not have life. I know that. But the car is colliding. For all you know, in certain circumstances, even this might be the case that the driver was fine and I was fine and everything was fine and no beggar and no dog. But there was a glitch in the car, the system, the brakes got stuck. Who is controlling that car? And if the car itself is capable of getting stuck, then how does the car decide when to get stuck? Why now? Why when I was on the road? Why when my car was just behind that car? So you're getting the question. There is something at play. And that's something what I can think of with the reference of all our Jain Shastra is that Pudgal works in a cyclic fashion, which is called Pudgal Paravartan. Because, I mean, there may be n number of permutations and combinations, n number of things which can be different, but end of the day, the logic on which Pudgal is defined, while that logic may stay, which means that my karmas are ensuring what happens to this body or the circumstances of the body, but my karmas cannot regulate the fate of the car or the road. How is that practically possible? Just think about it. How is that stimuli happening when you are in space and your rocket collides? I mean, are my karmas reaching so far and wide? It's impossible. How can they create that cause and effect in the other elements which it is not connected with? I mean, my Atma, my soul's Pradesh, the area where my soul is, the karmas are there in the same area. So it makes sense. But with other elements, it does not make sense. So the answer is that because Pudgala is working in a certain cycle, that is called Pudgal Paravartan. Hence, whatever is happening in that cycle, because it is in a certain fashion, the way it is working, whoever else gets involved in this cycle moves in the same fashion. So, the way, if there is a very strong flow of water in a river, and a small, you can say, a piece of bamboo, gets in that water, it will go in the same flow, same direction. And if there's a cyclone, it will start going round and round. So if you are in it, then you will follow the course of that. And if you're out of it, then you don't have to follow it. So Pudgal has a cycle. And that cycle says that everything repeats. So if there is a Titanic, which, sunk in this particular era, there would be another fifth Kal, the fifth era in future, when there would be something like a Titanic, and where it will sink, and where all the people on the Titanic will also sink with it, and some people will still live on because they will be saved, and those ratios will all remain the same because everything is in a repeat mode. Then which Jeev will land up in those souls who are going to sink with the Titanic? So there are placeholders, and those placeholders are of Jeev. Because if some of you are aware of it, all the lives that we see in this world, which are called Sansari lives, they are of a type which is called Asamana Jatiya Dravya Paryay, which means they are like a combination of Jeev and Pudgal coming together to make a life form. There's a difference between us and Siddha, isn't it? Siddha are pure life form. The gods whom we worship in Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, when we say Namo Siddhanam, we worship gods who are pure life form. But all the other worldly beings, all the other people like you and me, like the human beings, the animals, the plants, all these life forms that you can imagine, even the viruses or the bacteria, they are a combination of a life associated with a certain Pudgal Parmanu. And this mixture of two different elements staying together for a certain period in a partnership firm, you can say, kind of. So that is called asaman. Asaman means dissimilar. Jatiya means they belong to dissimilar types or forms, because living being is living and non-living is non-living. But both dravya come together in a form. So that's a dravya paryaya. So this, all the asaman jatiya dravya paryaya means the associations of living beings with the Pudgal. In the partnership form, if one party is Pudgal, if one party is non-living, then you follow the cycle of the non-living. So every Jeev who is within this scope also has a cycle, which is called karma paravartan or dravya paravartan. Now this dravya paravartan that we are talking about, or a Pudgal paravartan, it can be called either or it can be called a karma and no karma paravartan. All these are the same names. Now, if you want to get into the depth, of course, you are welcome to do the detailed course. These are more of introductory lectures. So we will touch on the surface here. So this Pudgal paravartan or dravya paravartan or karma and no karma paravartan that we are talking about, this is about those living forms that work in tandem with the Pudgal in a certain cycle for that particular time, which the cycle takes to complete. And one cycle completed means when you move into the next cycle, it is 100% in a repeat mode. For the Pudgal, 100%. For the Jeev, it may depend. Okay, hold on. Why so? Because the Pudgal only knows one way of working. Automatically. In a repeat mode. With the cause and effect. The way it is coded. But the Jeev which get into the flow of this have to follow that cycle. The Jeev who come out of this, they are not liable to follow the same cycle. And because the Jeev has a longer cycle than a Pudgal, because this association is not the only thing, there is more life to Jeev. So hence, there are Kshetra, Kal, Bhav and Bhav Paravartan also, which is the cycles of the Jeev. Beyond the cycle which it is associated only with the Pudgal. So, when we talk about the other cycles, like the Kshetra Paravartan, so this Jeev ideally will be, taking birth at every single Pradesh of Akash, which means every single region or every single space which exists in the Lokakash. So if you were to say, I'm Indian, only in this life. Next life, you can be Pakistani, you can be Nepali, you can be American. You can be, you can take birth in some other altogether different Lake Chikhand, like a total extraterrestrial life that you would call beyond the world that you know, because there is Dhaidweep, 2.5 islands. You can be born anywhere if it is a human form. You can be born in an animal form, anywhere at all, in the entire Lokakash. You can be born in any Devgati or Naragati. So I have taken as many lives at every single space being the center of my space. And I have completed the entire cycle of gradually moving from the center of the lok till the last end of the lok and back. Can you imagine the number of lives it would take? So if I, take birth in the center of the lok and then I take birth straight in Narak, that's not counted. Sequentially, when you are covering each space of this Lokakash, it is called one Kshetra Paravartan, a cycle of the space. What had happened in the Dravya Paravartan? In Dravya Paravartan, from the perspective of the Pudgal, I told you, everything repeats. From the perspective of the Jeev, if you were to understand, I have a body right now. You have a body right now. The moment in future, when you are reborn as a Bijal shade, the way she looks, even if she has a mole on her forehead, the same place, same size, same Pudgal Parmanu coming in the same color, exactly same, like a total duplicate of what you are. Same Pudgal Parmanu coming here. That is one Dravya Paravartan. The example which is given in Shastra is that you have a banyan tree, which is made of so many Pudgal Parmanu, so many atoms, which have turned into molecules in a certain shape, size, color, form. You burn this banyan tree. And the ashes, you, just throw away in a flowing river. Then the same atoms with which that tree was made come back to make the same tree with the same size, form, color, type, everything 100% same. So there are so many times when the tree will be made exactly the same, but different set of atoms will be used, and that is not counted as one Dravya Paravartan. So we are saying that the Jeev, if associated with the Pudgal, and if completes one entire cycle of the Pudgal Paravartan or the Dravya Paravartan, will be reborn exactly as the same body type with the same Pudgal atoms. So doesn't this go to prove that everything is in repeat mode in the Pudgal world? So you don't have to be surprised. Why is this accident happening? Because it has happened innumerable times in the past, because this is the way it works. Every year when you have winters, you have snow. Every year when you have summer, it's the same. Don't you see large cycles repeating while the time span can be different? Things are exactly the same. History repeats itself. Literally. Literally, it does repeat itself. The decline of the religion happening in the fifth kal. What's happening in the sixth kal? There's a pralay which will happen. You know what is a pralay? Are you aware of that? The doomsday that they talk about. Everything will be perished. It will actually happen. It happens every time. So however large or small the cycles may differ, certain things may have a cycle of 1 year, certain things may have a cycle of 100 years, certain things may have a cycle of 1,000 years, but everything works in a repeat world. As far as the Pudgal is concerned. As far as the Jeev is concerned, if you are going to live here in this sansar, then you will also continue with the Pudgal, go with the flow like the flow in the river, and be in that repeat mode. And that will be called one Dravya Paravartan. But because Jeev is not Pudgal, hence the Jeev is born at different places. Hence, I even have a Kshetra Paravartan whereby I will take birth at different places. And when I complete the entire cycle of being born in different places, one Kshetra Paravartan will complete. And one Kshetra Paravartan is much longer than one Dravya Paravartan. Then Kal Paravartan. You want to celebrate your birthday, you can celebrate anytime. Actually, because there is no moment where you have not been born. Not in this day and time, which means the fifth Tara that we are in. I don't know how many of you are aware of the sixth Kal. Vijay, do we have lectures on sixth Kal on the JEEV platform? Great. So please share those links with all the attendees so they can go through the details of the sixth Kal at least, so they know what we are talking about. So there's a cycle of rise and fall. The times change. And that also needs to be understood before what I am talking about is understood. But anyways, I will continue on the topic what we are at. So, I have been born at every time in the history of rise and fall. Were you present at the time of Adinath Bhagwan? You must be taking, you were born somewhere or the other, isn't it? Somewhere or the other. So I have been born at every single moment of first kal, second kal, third kal. And when I am born in that certain sequence, so when I am born on the first samay of the first kal, that is counted as one. And when I am born on the second samay of the first kal, which means that life is gone. And the entire cycle of, coming back again on the first kal. And if I am born on the third samay, that's not counted. So sequentially is also another very important aspect that we are talking about. Same sequence. The sequence can't change. Same jeev, same body, same Pudgal Parmanu, same sequence, same form makes the Dravya Paravartan. Same jeev, the central part of the jeev sequentially in the central part of the universe. Then the next Pradesh of that, then the next Pradesh of that, sequentially and completing the entire space, Kshetra Paravartan. Same jeev, taking birth at different point in time, but sequentially in the sequence of the time. Will make one Kal Paravartan when they complete the entire cycle of 1 to 6 and 6 to 1 Kal, which is like infinity. Infinity. So Kal Paravartan is much bigger than the Kshetra Paravartan. Lot of Kshetra Paravartan happen. The cycles of Kshetra happen when one Kal Paravartan happens. Think of it as like a machine whereby there is a very big wheel and there are very small wheels. So when the big wheel takes one full turn, the small wheels take hundreds of turns by that time. So as you move ahead, the wheel becomes bigger. So Dravya Kshetra Kal Bhav, very frightening. Again, I have been born in every life form, in every state, the 4 states, the 4 gatis, the hell, the heaven, the human, the animal life, every form. And how many times? So if I were to take, say, your life, which is, say, for example, 80 years, the number of moments, the samay, which are there in your lifetime, as many times you have been born in the same. It may be a little difficult for you to understand in this half an hour slot. I can understand that. But this is a teaser. This is not the full movie. But the point is, the gist is that you want to go to Devgati. You are longing to go to Bhogbhumi. You are longing to be born in the Bhogbhumi times of the first, second, third Kal. You sometimes think, what if? You have been Amitabh Bachchan. Do you know that? You have been that Akshay Kumar, Shah Rukh Khan already in your lives. You have been the superstars. What do you want to be? You have already been. Not once, not twice, not hundreds of times, infinite times. Where do you want to be born? As what? So every bhav from the 7th of the hells and as many times, you have endured it all. What are you scared of? What have you not experienced? So bhav paravartan, another bigger wheel. And bhav paravartan is ultimate because it says that right from the most, you must have heard about 6 leshyas, different temperaments that we have. You know how intensely you feel the passions. So I've been as cruel as one can be, and I've been as noble as I can be. So you have been a person who would even not, clinch if your body was totally burnt alive, or it was peeled off and a lot of salt was put into it. Still, you would have been very peaceful and with no animosity. You have had those temperaments. And you have had temperaments whereby for a small mistake, a small insult, would have killed the cities altogether. Those kind of variations we have had in our bhav. And all those were a part of the game plan of Pudgal, in association with Pudgal, influenced by Pudgal. In the flow of Pudgal, there was none of you in this entire thing. Now, another very important question which probably may arise in your mind here is that then how come, the Tirthankaras or a lot of other, living beings, human forms who go to Moksha, they are not in the repeat mode. How does it work with them? Or there are so many Jeev in the Nigod who have never come out of Nigod. How does it work in their case? Is there a logic? Can we reconcile all of these? Yes, you can. And how does that work again? So, Jeev who get Samyak Darshan from there on, they are out of the cycle of life and death of Panchparavartan. They have a different journey now. Jeev who become Siddha are out of this cycle frame. They are not in Sansar. They are not associated with any Pudgal at all. And Jeev who are in Nigod, the Nitya Nigod, they are also out of this repeat mode in terms of not the duration, because they are also living since eternity, but in terms of the different experiences, the variety of experiences that we have had in the different gatis, they have not had that. So, if I would say that this now I will talk about Pudgal Paravartan primarily. In this cycle of Pudgal, everything is happening in the repeat mode. Say, for example, there are 1 crore Jeev, just for example. Of course, there are Anantanant, infinite. But for example, if there are 1 crore Jeev, every 6 months and 6 samay, so little more than 6 months, 608 Jeev come out of this cycle. They get liberated of this cycle. And the same period, 608 Jeev from Nitya Nigod, who have never seen the light of day apart from Nigod, enter in this cycle. So the number of Jeev, if it was 1 crore in this, repeat mode of Pudgal, it remains the same. It does not differ. Now you will say that which Jeev will, how does Pudgal know which Jeev are going to become, liberated and which ones are going to stay here, and how does the Pudgal manage things? Pudgal does not manage anything. I would say all the Jeev in this, frame of Pudgal are like placeholders. Now just imagine the way I'm talking about it. They are placeholders. So certain pipes, just imagine pipes. Okay. Somebody is entering here. Some pipes, after coming in from Nigod, maybe in 1, 2 or 3 lives can also go to Moksha. There are some straight through processes, you can say, which will have a very shorter, cyclical time amongst this variety. Some pipes will go on and on and on here only. They will never come out. They are blocked at the end of it. So they will never get liberated. Some pipes, so every pipe has its own, the curls inside, a own root. So certain pipes are placeholder pipes. If you move there in that cycle, it means you're coming out of it. So anyone who becomes you can say, Tirthankar, in the bhav of a Tirthankar, like the 24 Tirthankars, their pipe is going to open up on the liberation immediately in that particular life. Anybody who has become a Saudharma Indra or a Shachindrani or a Lokantik Dev or has gone to Sarvar Siddhi or certain more other, placeholders. So certain such marked paryay are the ones from where when Jeev will land in that paryay, they will definitely come out of it. So every time a new Jeev will come in that paryay. Which means when Adinath Bhagwan, same body, same Pudgal Parmanu will get reconstructed in a Dravya Paravartan, the same Jeev will not occupy it. It will not be in a repeat mode. It will always be a different Jeev which comes there. Because whichever Jeev will come in the Adinath Bhagwan, human form, will be liberated from there on. So there are placeholder paryay and There are paryaya where you will, you know, how much ever you rise, how much ever noble you become, how much ever your kashaya are very, very mand, like very, very, you know, subtle, but still you will realize that still you will land up in the same jungle of the paravartans inside, because they are not the placeholder ones. So this also goes on to prove that everything is fixed. Everything is predetermined. While you always have a logic built into the system, because the process is the logic. The steps which will lead you to your destination is the logic, because it is always gradual. But the logic is not creating the destination. It is just the process step. The everything else that we are talking about here is happening because it is predetermined. I understand we have touched upon a lot of aspects in this half an hour. You know, this is more than 10-hour job. If each one of these is to be elaborated, from the kals to the the panch paravartan by themselves. One paravartan takes 1 hour also at times to explain, if you really need to get to the depth of it. And then understanding the everything is predetermined, which is the krambadha paryaya aspect by itself, is a very big topic. But what I have tried to present to you here is there is sound and deep logic. There is only one way in which you can go ahead and prove the existence of things as they are. There cannot be any other way. You will falter, you will fall flat. Because as far as logic, agam, and the Vitragi Dharam says, everything says that while if be influenced from any other elements, while I am in the state of under the influence of any other elements, I will be bound. If I get in the flow of that river, I will have to follow its course. But if I come out of it, I realize the independence of my existence. And if I strive to come out of it, there is liberation. And my goal should be to get liberated. So with that, we will call it a day on this particular topic. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, Kirtan, do you want to ask something?
Yes, Swanubhuti Jain, you are right that it's such a huge topic of Panch Paravartan to finish in 30 minutes is kind of punishment to the speaker, I guess, you know. But one thing comes to my mind that if we say that the soul end up with the infinite Panch Paravartan, then how does the ego Jeev, how can we put him in that situation? Is he out of the circle? Just like the Siddha Bhagwan?
The Nitya Nigod is out of the circle.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely right.
That's good. So Nitya Nigod and this Samkiti Jeev, both are out of the circle.
So see, the Siddha Bhagwan and the Nitya Nigod are out of the circle. But you know, while the Siddha Bhagwan will not become Siddha directly, it will be Arihanta Bhagwan before that. So those are placeholders, because there's still an association of the karma there. Those parmanus are there, those bodies are there. But those bodies are leading you out. So after Chayik Samyaktva, you are straight on your way out. It's like that.
Very, very good. Thank you very much. Yes, very enlightening.
Sure.
So for those who are beginning their study, I am sure they have not, really understood every nitty-gritty of what you said. But I think the main message here, which we are trying to understand, is that if this opportunity that we have is gone behind, this getting ahead in our careers and fulfilling our responsibilities and making the most of this life, then it is for sure that we are going to go in cycle. And if it is destiny, as you again said that, then why should we make the effort? Because you just said it is predetermined. And if it is destiny, then why should I just, even try?
So your efforts are always in sync with your destiny. A lot of people made a lot of effort to create the Titanic. A lot of people spent a lot of money to get on board. And there was a lot of effort which was put in, even for the Titanic to, crash against the iceberg. They increased the speed, they changed the direction, they did what not all. So efforts are there, but efforts are not causing the effect. They are leading to the effect because they are a part of the process. So whenever you feel that your efforts are going in the wrong direction, you feel that, I feel like cheating and stealing and lying. So it does not mean your efforts are going waste. They will give you the fruits of sins. Don't worry. And you will go to the hells or the bad paryay because the efforts are not waste, isn't it? But why did you started thinking negatively or you went in the wrong direction? You had so much of potential, but you didn't put to any constructive but destructive use. Why did that happen? Why so intelligent people at times also do such foolish things? And foolish in your eyes, not in their own eyes. They feel they are doing the right thing. But why did they feel that was the right thing to do? Because they were following their destiny, isn't it? So all the efforts are leading to your destiny. That's for sure. And see, sometimes you want to go from point A to point B. It's not always a straight line. Sometimes it is through left or in circles, going forth, going back, then finally reaching to A also, isn't it? It's not always a straight line. So your efforts may also be like those, twisted lines at times leading to your destination. I tried, I failed. I tried, I failed. So maybe I tried 100 times and then I succeeded in the 101st time, or I never succeeded because you were not deemed to succeed. You were to fail after making all these efforts. That is also possible, isn't it? Which happens with us a lot of times. So whatever happens, you will always end up with your destiny, isn't it? Whatever route you follow, whatever path you take, choices you make, you go forth, you go back. When you're going through a ghat from Mumbai to go to Devlali, do you go straight? You go in circles. The hairpins roads and the mountains. So that is also quite possible in terms of where we are heading. But eventually you do reach Devlali from here, isn't it?
So that in this big scheme of things, what should we do? Like, अब क्या करें? I want to get out of this cycle, and then if it is destiny, then in the end I'm going to end up where I'm going to end up. So if I have to make a conscious effort, then what should I do?
See, first of all, my concept should be very clear what I really want. Do I want peace of mind? Because if the goal is clear, then you know what to do towards that. Now, if you want peace of mind, what do you need to do in the current situation if you want peace of mind? Be peaceful. So what about the efforts? What about the task that I'm supposed to do? Will you be able to change what is deemed to happen? Okay. If you are to put in certain efforts in certain directions, because there are a lot of things which come to us intuitively. So can you change those intuitions of this human form or other things? No, you won't be able to do that. They will also happen. So the word is happen. And what do you do? Because I am also here. So do what you do best. Do what Siddha Bhagwan do. Do what Arhant Bhagwan do. Do in which it doesn't feel like work. So you must have heard, even as far as professional life is concerned, people say, don't work like work. Don't get worked up. Work like you're enjoying life. What interests you? What is a glide? A smooth ride, which feels like fun and still work is getting done. So why can't we apply the same thing to our own existence? What is something which you don't have to do and still will happen all the time in your lives? being conscious of whatever is happening around you. So that you don't have to do, because whether you want to do or you don't want to do, it will happen. It's a non-negotiable. It's a non-compromising state. Why? Because the fire doesn't heat things. The fire is hot. It doesn't have to heat itself. It's what it is. Just be. So when you just be, you will be a witness to everything, but you will not get involved in it. And witnessing gives you peace of mind. Being in a war, vis-a-vis watching the war on a screen, where do you feel more at peace? Just imagine. What is comfortable? Where do you feel good? In the war, even if you know the outcome that you're going to outlive the war, you will not die in that war. Still, with every blow, every arrow, every shot, you are not at peace of mind. You are not stable. But when you're watching it on the screen, you're 100%, you can still have your popcorn and watch the war. And the drought or the famine or the floods. And you don't mind. So theoretically, we know where peace is. But practically, we fail to, get in that mode.
So we have time for one more question. If there is any other question from the audience.
Ma'am, I would like to ask one question to you.
Sure.
Yeah, ma'am, a very beautiful discourse, and I totally understand. I mean, I would like to sum up when you put all of these things together. The clarity of what we want to do in life, the goals of our life should be very clear, so that we don't end up taking the wrong path or very curvy path, or get into wrong placeholders. Right. So, ma'am, when so much of clarity is there, being preached and taught in our Jain religion, how as we youngsters should have a conscious alertness at every moment of our life, that we don't get deviated from the goal, and how can we define our goals clearly, still being into the sansari state?
Sure, it's a great question. See, what we need to change right now is the way we look at things. It's an attitude issue. It's a perception issue. It's a faith issue. Why? Because we believe otherwise. Now, to get that right, first you have to theoretically understand the logic and the nuances of the entire subject. So, understanding spirituality is a science. Why? Because logically you have to understand all aspects of it. And once you have understood, the clarity of concept is there, then it is an art, because art needs practice. A Tendulkar, although knows how to play cricket, but that doesn't make him a Tendulkar that he is, isn't it? It is the practice every day. Every singer does riyaz, practice. Why? Because only then, when you get that control over things. So, after understanding all those aspects, spirituality is an art. It needs a lot of practice. So, both will need to be done in the right sequence. And the more time, because, as they say that what you know in your conscious mind, gradually, if that is repeated over and over again, then it starts becoming the way you think. Then it becomes your habit. Then it becomes your attitude. So we have to follow the same course. Understand more of this. Try to look at the world from this lens more and more, over and over again. And gradually there will be a time when this is the way our life totally takes a U-turn.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Sure, most welcome.
So with this, I'm sure everyone wants to know where they can access more of this course and the lecture itself. So we do have all these lectures will